এনভায়রনমেন্ট অ্যান্ড ডেভেলপমেন্টের লাস্ট ক্লাসে আমরা এনভায়রনমেন্টাল ম্যানেজমেন্টের বেসিক কিছু কনসেপ্ট নিয়ে আলোচনা করেছিলাম। আজকে এই এনভায়রনমেন্টাল ম্যানেজমেন্টের বিস্তারিত আলোচনা করব। আজকের আলোচনাটাই হচ্ছে এনভায়রনমেন্টাল ম্যানেজমেন্ট অ্যান্ড ডেভেলপমেন্ট, এই বইটি থেকে, রিটেন বাই সিজে ব্যারো। All individuals are to some extent involved in environmental management because their activities ultimately have an impact on the environment. But some individuals are more actively involved in resource use and interact more with nature, like farmers, fishermen, some interest groups, academic researcher, applied researcher, administrator, government advisors, and so on. And all these groups interact with the nature or use resources differently. So there are many different levels of environmental management. Environmental managers deal with how best use of the resources can be ensured. Environmental managers generally seek to understand the structure and functions of the environment, the way humans relate to their physical surroundings and one another. They then try to monitor change, predict future developments, and try to ensure maximum human benefit and minimal environmental damage. Now, what is environmental management? According to Yale Coley, it is a process concerned with human-environment interactions which seeks to identify what is environmentally desirable, what are the physical, economic, social, and technological constraints achieving it, and what are the most feasible options. And Thompson suggested environmental management is the system that anticipates and avoids or solves environmental and resource conservation problems. Now, the basic functions of environmental managers. Globally, there are some basic functions of environmental managers, and the first function is that they make deliberate efforts to steer the development process to take advantage of opportunities provided by the nature, ensure no critical limits are exceeded of the nature, try to avoid different threats, mitigate problems, and finally prepare people for unavoidable conditions by improving their adaptability and resilience. And environmental managers do not just cope with these challenges, they must model and monitor to gain sufficient knowledge and try to get early warnings. Now, who will be an environmental manager? Before 1980s, the environmental management field was mainly practiced by those with a science background, mainly ecologists and pollution specialists, but no single environmental managers can cope with all the issues, and in different academic institutions, funding agencies, and large organizations, sociologists and anthropologists, economists, geographers, physical scientists, lawyers, planners, and engineers increasingly come together in environmental management departments. Now, globally, environmental managers face some similar problems. The first and major problem is the dependency. Environmental managers highly depend on the funding by different foreign agencies and by different nations, but this dependency also sometimes creates some false results in the researches. Then through globalization, some pressure from the outside world also creates some pressure for the environmental managers. Then debt burden of the poor countries, then general poverty of the people, and trying to invest more in the environmental conservation will reduce the national income, and for poor countries it is a very big challenge. Then environmental managers sometimes need to break down the traditional resources and traditional ways of workings of the people, and this is very problematic. And inadequate governance leading having corruption in the governance system, political unrest, poor law enforcement, all these create some problems for environmental managers. and often high population density is a very big problem for environmental managers, and it is seen globally. Then rapid social change, limited powers to the hands of the environmental managers, and centralized bureaucracy also create some problems for the environmental managers to work freely. Now, if we summarize today's class, we can see some around 4 points. That is, first is that environmental management has been evolving over around 30 years, and many countries have no idea about environmental management till today. Environmental management supports a proactive approach to development. Sustainable development is a key concept of environmental management. Science and social science both involved together in environmental management, and finally, without environmental management, development is unlikely to be sustainable and people will be vulnerable to different disasters. এনভায়রনমেন্ট অ্যান্ড ডেভেলপমেন্ট এই কোর্সের আজকের ক্লাস এ পর্যন্তই। সামনে আবার দেখা হবে।